Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the new moon. It's on December 19. I had to check. It's at 28 degrees of Sagittarius. We're going to do a short overview, and then we're going to look at love and money predictions for your sign. So this new moon is at 28 degrees of Sagittarius. This chart is run for my location, so we're not thinking about the houses right now because you're probably not in this location. And so if you want to know specifics about the houses, then run the new moon chart for your own location. But what we see here is, of course, the sun conjunct the moon at late degrees of Sagittarius. This is a very special degree because it's extremely close to the galactic center, which is around late 26, early 27 degrees of Sagittarius. The galactic center is kind of a spiritual nexus. It's a place that stores all the knowledge of the universe. And so as we have this new moon, we have access to the information that we're looking for. We ask the question, and then the universe gives us an answer. And this may not sound so remarkable in the age of, all kinds of information. However, sometimes when there's so much information out there, it's hard to sift through and find the information you really need or to find the truth. And so this is a time where you can get good information, where you can find out what you need and the answers to your questions. Now, this new moon makes a couple of aspects. It's going to make a square to Neptune and Saturn. These two are traveling together right now in Pisces, and so we have lots of forced action here. So the new moon in Sagittarius is about big picture plans. Like what's the adventure you want to be on? What does your personal philosophy say about where you want to go in life? How can you be true to yourself and still explore this place, with that sense of adventure? Now that's getting that square from Saturn and Neptune, which Saturn can be kind of a party pooper, and it says, you should follow the plan. Neptune, on the other hand, has a vision, says, oh yeah, we could do all of the things that we want to do. Now, when these two travel together, I've talked about this many times, it is actually giving us blueprints for constructing the life that we want to live. Now we have a really active period of 2 weeks where we can implement things, find out the answers so that we can take those blueprints and start to work with the energies. So this could be quite an exciting time for starting new projects, for even just deciding that you're going to do a new project, not even getting things done yet, because Sagittarius energy is big thinking. This is the overall goals. This is the trip that you're going to take. This is not which airline it's going to be or how you're going to get to the airport. It's not those details, not yet. This is more about what's the picture and what's the thing that you want. Now, at the same time, we are going to be doing an inconjunct to Uranus, and that means that there's going to be unexpected opportunities and interruptions. So when you're thinking about that is, you sit down to do your meditation, and that's when, your sister calls or the cat throws up on the carpet or something like that. So there can be interruptions. That's not a sign that you're supposed to not do this thing, but it could be a sign that you're supposed to tweak your thinking. You're supposed to do something a little bit different. You're supposed to maybe think not so linearly. Is that the right word? And not so much from A to B to C to D, but to think about, maybe taking a different path to get to where you want. Oftentimes we can get stuck because we get locked into an idea that, A has to lead to B. It has to go from going to college, getting the good job, staying at the job, and then retiring. Like, that never works for anybody anymore. So this is kind of that same thing, but on a smaller scale. It is to look at what it is that you're deciding to do, what you're thinking about doing. And then in that process, if you get interrupted, that's the universe saying, okay, start to think of something different. We also have Venus very close to this new moon. So Venus is kind of chasing the sun right now. Venus is going to form a star point in January. We'll talk about that as we get a little closer. But this is about looking at what you want, rather than maybe thinking about what everybody else expects you to do. So keeping in mind your preferences, your desires. And one more thing I wanted to mention about this chart, and that's Mercury. Mercury's really actually quite isolated. Now, it is in the same sign as this new moon, sitting back there, though, kind of in the corner, not really talking to anyone. It's making an aspect to the North Node and the South Node, but not making an aspect to any of the planets. And so that can mean that the thinking that you're doing isn't related to the other things going on in your life, which means you could have some really unique ideas, ideas that are not influenced by outside forces. Or it can mean that we're not thinking, that we are turning that part off and we're more reacting to things, or we're more just taking action, or we just want to explore and have a good time. And that's because that's in the chart right now. That's actually what we're supposed to do. The other thing that I wanted to point out about this chart is, in particular, this new moon, and we're just going to isolate the moon for a second, is way out of bounds. And Mars is out of bounds as well, so we should mention that Mars too. So out of bounds planets mean that you're willing to break the rules. You're willing to take a risk. So think about, like a typical high school situation where kids are not allowed to leave campus for lunch. When you have an out of bounds planet, you're willing to jump the fence. You're willing to take the risk because you want to go have the adventure. So here we have the moon already in the adventurous sign of Sagittarius and ready to break the rules, as well as Mars, which is sitting there in early Capricorn, and it is also very, very willing to break the rules. And so if you're thinking that you don't want to be hemmed in, that you don't want to be locked into other people's expectations, that's all in line with this new moon energy. Okay, we're going to take a look at your sign, and while we do, if you would be so kind as to hit that subscribe button, that would be fantastic. Okay, Scorpio, let's take a look at the love and money predictions for you for the next 2 weeks. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the chart to a 0 Aries chart, and then I'm going to rotate the chart so that Scorpio is on the ascendant. And so these will be predictions for Scorpio and Scorpio rising. And the first thing that we see is you have a full second house. That is money. So this is your time of money opportunities. Of course, there are a total of 4 money houses, but the second house is the strongest of your money houses. And so this indicates that there are multiple money opportunities, financial opportunities. This could be anything from jobs to passive income sources, investments, people just giving you stuff, opportunities for you to receive something of value. Sometimes this will be things that you've been looking for, been working towards. Sometimes there'll be surprises. This is where the new moon is, so this is a really great time to start working on something for financial gain. That is starting a business, or starting a new investment, or just taking better care of your finances, because that's a really good way of figuring out if there are holes that are just draining out your money. And so this is the money time. Now, second house is also about self-worth and a sense of deserving, and those are really tied to money, because money is just a neutral energy, and it tends to flow where we feel that we are deserving or worthy. And so this is an opportunity to work on the issues around self-worth, self-esteem. Those things can change as we unravel the things that happened maybe in childhood or maybe happened recently to you. Those sort of things, as we unravel them, as we find out more about ourselves and become more aware, then those things can be cleared, and that can then lead to more money opportunities coming in. We also want to consider that as a Scorpio or Scorpio rising, there are 2 planet rulers for you. Pluto, which we always keep an eye on for you. Pluto, though, is a very slow-moving planet, and so it is going to be in Aquarius for another at least 19 years, so it's going to be a very long transit. It's very important you have access to this power, but what we want to concentrate on right now is Mars, because Mars, the co-ruler of Scorpio, now is in Capricorn, and Mars is quite happy in this sign. Mars is wants to take action, wants to be assertive, and Capricorn wants to build something, wants to make something that lasts. So this is a great time during the new moon to build a foundation of something, to build the beginnings of something. This is an out of sign conjunction with this new moon, and so some of the actions that you take may not feel exactly in line with those things. You know, sometimes we have to come around something to attack it from a different angle. So, but this gives you that out-of-the-box thinking for doing that. Because Mars is in your 3rd house, there may be some activity that's needed with neighbors, your siblings. There may be some things that you need to do with your vehicle, especially now that Mercury is direct and moving forward and is not going retrograde for a while. Or there is some communication or paperwork that you need to handle, and handle it in an assertive manner. And that means not passively waiting for someone else to respond, but going after the response that you're looking for. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, we're very interested in what's going on with your 5th house, and all of these players in your 5th house are very slow moving, and so they're still going to be there for some time. Saturn will leave first, and that will be in mid-February, and that will help lighten things up a little bit for you. So, but the Saturn being there does say that putting in the effort when you're meeting someone new to, look at your own patterns and see what patterns you can get out of, where are you stuck in a rut, and how can you break free of that rut, whether that is thinking process or making assumptions or going to the same place over and over, hoping to get some different results. So you can work on this now. So, but as Saturn gets out of this house, then I think you're going to find that it's even easier, because all of the things you have been learning over these last couple of years, then you can start to really apply those lessons. We're also looking at how the ruler, or in your case, 2 rulers of your 5th house, are interacting with Mars and Pluto. And so we've got an out-of-sign sextile going on between Neptune and Pluto. And if we're looking at Jupiter as the co-ruler of the 5th house, and Mars is the co-ruler of your ascendant, your rising sign, or your sun sign, we've got no aspect going on between those. So in some weeks, when you've watched these videos, you've heard me say that there's multiple aspects that you're doing, and that makes it even easier to meet someone. This time you only have one aspect that's happening. It's out of sign. That means you could meet someone in an unexpected place, or this person's quite different than who you normally would meet. They're a different type, or again, like you're just surprised that you're meeting a person in this place. But it's also possible, because it's just one aspect for you, that you're saying, I'll just wait. I'll wait till we get to February and Saturn gets out of that house. That's also a valid thing to do. But if you are looking for love, you are doing an aspect. You have the potential for multiple aspects. Most people don't. So, but having an aspect, any aspect will work, and so there are opportunities. Now, if we are considering an existing love relationship, your current partner, we are looking at the ruler of the ascendant versus the ruler of the descendant. And so that's going to be what Venus is doing with Pluto or Mars. Now, Venus is not talking to Pluto, nor is it really talking to Mars. However, they are in the same sign. But I'm going to give them the little X because there's no aspect going on right now. And that is that because they're in the same sign, Venus will catch up with that Mars. And so that is that the two of you in your current love relationship are just, going along doing your own thing. But your partner will be making an effort to catch up with you, to come to some agreement with you. So you can watch for that. But the point is that when there's no aspect, that things are going to go along as they have been. And there's not a lot of ways right now to work out differences. And so if the relationship is strong, it continues to be strong. If it's a little bit brittle, it continues to be brittle, but we're not seeing something here that breaks the relationship. Now, when it comes to your money, of course, we already talked about there's a ton of great energy in your second house, but we also want to look at the ruler of your second house, and that is Jupiter. Jupiter is quite elevated in your chart. That elevation means that you can get more publicity, you can get more visibility, you can get more clients, you can find more followers. This is very good if you're looking for a job because your resume can rise to the top of the pile. It's very good if you're doing some networking because people can really connect with you. They can see you. But this Jupiter here in that ninth house, where it's been for a while and going to be for a while, probably till next summer, or if you're seeing this in the lower hemisphere next winter, this is a time where you want to be working on international business relations, legal matters concerning your business, getting your credentials all straightened out, getting taxes all straightened out. That's the opportunities that you're having while Jupiter is going through this house. Again, very long transit, not something you necessarily have to do during this 2-week period. This 2-week period has such a strong money house for you. I would really focus on immediate money. Where can you make some money? But keep in the back of your mind or put on your long-term list to take care of all of those legal, credential, especially international paperwork sort of things. That would be very helpful. This is also Jupiter in the ninth would be your logo, your branding, your color scheme, what makes you stand out from the competition. Again, something to work on over the next months. Did you know that I do a weekly illustrated newsletter? It is all about the happenings of the week astrologically, and it comes free in your inbox. And so if you like astrology and you love black cats, this is the newsletter for you. There is a link to subscribe in the description. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, we're concerned about what the second house ruler is doing with the eighth house ruler. Now, it's interesting because the eighth house ruler is Mercury, and Mercury is not talking to anyone in this chart. So you would think that this could be a dry period, but that's not necessarily true because Mercury is in Sagittarius and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So you have a hidden aspect. That means that you could make more money over this next 2 weeks by looking underneath things, looking for basically the hidden money out there. And that could be that a past client wants to buy a gift certificate, or that someone clicked on that they want to buy, but somehow you didn't get the message. Somehow, the order itself got hung up in the back office system. So this could also be for investments, or maybe there's a stray email out there that says that there's an opportunity, or there's a check on your desk, a physical check on your desk covered with paper that needs to be cashed, but there's something hidden here that could bring you some money. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, we're looking at the 11th house, and that is also ruled by that Mercury. You're the only sign that has the same ruler on the 8th house as the 11th house. Of course, in your natal chart, that might be different, especially if you're only looking at your sun sign here, or if there are interceptions in your chart. But for the majority of people with Scorpio rising, they're going to have that same ruler for both those houses, which is one of the reasons that Scorpio or Scorpio rising can do so well financially. Now, this particular placement is that the ruler of your 11th house is in a money house, and so that really does help your case if you are looking for more money in your job. Now, as we were just saying, this Mercury, while not making an aspect with Jupiter, does make a hidden connection because it's in Sagittarius. That means that you could surprise your boss by saying, you know what, I want to sit down and talk about a raise. It's possible that you get a little surprised, although I would imagine without that other connection, without a more overt connection, it would be more like, here's a gift card or a pat on the back or a promise for the future. But you are getting some positive energy here for asking for a raise, or if you're negotiating for a new job, of getting more money than your previous job. With an astrology reading, you get more information about who you are, your talents and abilities. You get to see what obstacles are ahead, and you can get a game plan for how to get past those obstacles and find success. So if you're interested in having a reading, there's a link in the description.